your creative side brand journey, where did it begin? What was the first thing that you can recall that you did?
Well, it's kind of like a fun exercise, honestly, because there's a few things, even like putting it in terms of timeline and time frame. It's like, did I do this before that? But trying to remember them all is quite a fun journey. But I think it all started with YouTube for both of us, because that was sort of, I'm jumping the gun here, but Brotherhood Studios was our first ever like YouTube
combined YouTube, but we'll go one at a time. So talk about
sorry. So DJ235 was my first ever YouTube channel.
Everyone would have heard of that if you listen to this. DJ235.
Tell us a bit. What's your memory of that?
Well, it's essentially the same as what Brotherhood Studios turned into, but I actually think you started YouTube NBA mixtape editing before me, or you were a bit more into it, because as we're about to discover, mine was called MMM-ICL33, so it wasn't really not much better than yours, but you had a bit more branding to it, and we basically made NBA mixtapes.
No, mine had backstory, because DJ235 is, every time I played basketball, I wasn't a big scorer, and I always found myself scoring 2 points, then 3 points, and I'd end it on 5.
Oh, wow.
And then that was it. And I always, for some reason, there was a period in my life where every single basketball game, I swear I finished with 5 points only. So that's why.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
what
dominant.
do you reckon? Sorry.
Dominant. I was dominant on court, just like I dominate content like right now in 2 times
5
creative.
points. No, it's good. It's good effort. Interesting one. What do you think intrigued you, or why do you think you first started a YouTube channel?
Well, I would like to go back to the very first point. Like, I'd like to go back to those moments to work out how we actually got into it. But yeah, I don't know. I think Maximilian, like a big inspiration in that sort of YouTube basketball scene. We probably saw people like him. We obviously loved our basketball around that time, or just getting into it or whatever. And then we were just like, that's really cool. Let's
love video editing.
Yeah, that's our own version of it. So it's funny looking back on that. I had 3K subscribers. That's not bad.
I think when you had that channel, I feel like we were quite appreciative of how many subscribers you had, because I thought you had a lot. I mean,
big dog.
It's good, and that is a good segue into what that turned into.
Yeah, no, so exactly. So then, so we both had our own YouTube channels beforehand, but then we're like, you know what?
Actually, while we're on it, so both our individual YouTube channels, mine was the one I mentioned, 579 subscribers. So big 3K subscribers, 579. What do? We combine them and become the ultimate powerhouse.
I don't know how you got into that. Like, you were just like, you know what? I'm going to use your audience. No, I mean, we were just like, so it was quite funny. So basically picture this, because every time we, on the weekends or getting home from, was it school or uni or something?
Preschool.
Our prep. Kindergarten. No, but all we used to do was like, we got home and then the TV was on in the background, and then both of us would have our laptops on like the side arm of the couch, and we'd just both be editing NBA mixtapes the exact same. Like, we're like, what are you working on? Tell me the name of what player, and like, cool, I'll watch it when it's done or something. And then I think one day we're like, why don't we just like bring ourselves together, and we can obviously double the output of the videos. So now Brotherhood Studios, incoming new YouTube channel that we combined together with.
I don't know, it's in many ways how 2 Times Creative was formed, but just in a video editing sense. So Brotherhood Studios was the name we came up with, and it's exactly what we were doing, just under one name, and we turned it into a bit more, well, not ultimately professional, but it had a name, it had a logo, it had not a website, but it was just a YouTube channel that we grew to, how many subscribers?
It was kind of, we eventually, we had 3.5K, so.
Still do, it still lives.
Wait, that's hilarious. Did we ever, it's literally combining both our audiences of our original.
Oh yeah, 3K plus 579 subscribers, and it ended on 3.5. Bit of poetry in that.
Well, so you're saying that, in theory, the audience probably just like all carried over from our other YouTube and nobody else joined?
Well, we don't know.
But that's funny. Anyway, Brotherhood Studios, I was thinking, was almost like the first 2 Times Creative, because like you said, we did not in the same what we do, similar, whatever, but in the sense that we made it a bit more professional. We got a logo. We got some merch.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I think Elise organised that. Yeah, some mouse pads.
Michael's lovely wife organised that. I don't know if you still rock your BHS t-shirt. Mine's at the bottom of my barrel.
I don't think I have it.
Yeah. It's a bit sad, actually.
But it's fun to look back on. Do you remember, I was just thinking when you were talking about how we used to edit on the sidearm of our chairs, do you remember the excitement of revealing the final edit to one another? Like saying, all right, Darren, my da-da-da player LeBron James mix is done. And you literally like, because you really wanted the other one to be happy with it, because it was their channel as well. And you could tell the ones, not that we're the most enthusiastic creatures, but the ones that hit the other one would be like, okay, yeah, like that's good. And that was enough to be like, I've nailed this one.
That's true. It's a great feeling, like just showing it for the first time, because in the back of my mind, you know you've done a good or average job, and sometimes you're like, I've nailed this, but then if the other person doesn't react, you're like, I'm questioning it all. But
Yeah.
another part of like business life that Brotherhood Studios opened us up to was like bad clients. Do you remember? So there was a few times we actually got like paid gigs, and we're like, wow, this is
So,
awesome.
yeah, that's
like,
important to touch on. We didn't,
like we actually got a few paid gigs that people either reached out to us or we reached out to them, and we ended up editing. Like, we put a lot more time and effort into those client ones. But there was one especially, the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist one, if any NBA fan out there, I think it was like probably our first, we kind of edited it together somehow. But
yeah,
it
because
was
we
like
put a lot of effort in, or like we put a lot of focus on it.
yeah, like it was kind of like a big project in our minds, and then we're like, this is awesome. Like, people are noticing our work and they want to pay us for it. We were really happy with the output. We sent like the first version with a big draft in watermark over the top, because we're like, well, we don't want them using it without getting paid, kind of thing. And then for whatever reason, we never heard back from the guy, and we just released it months after, because we're like, we've worked so hard on this, even though we didn't get paid and we didn't get we didn't hear back from him. We're just going to launch it anyway because we really like it. But first taste of bad clients.
That's actually that was probably our first ever client. I'm going to just put it there because I don't really know what else would have been. But we ended up uploading, as you said, just as a normal video. But do you remember who that was for? Was it just for some like media outlet in America? It wasn't Australia.
It's just like, it was a like American. I think it was just like an American dude. I don't even know if it was like he had a brand attached to him. He just was some guy.
We were very raw to it though. So as you can imagine, we were probably pretty naive that people want to pay us. We probably would have charged like, I don't know, 50, 100. I don't even know.
I probably haven't improved on those rates.
But
for being honest,
it's a good lead into what Brotherhood Studios actually kickstarted for us to essentially guide what you're doing today in a funny way.
No, well, it's true. It's basically what got us the NBL gig, as we've touched on many times. But
no, let's tell it again. So we pitched. Well, we didn't pitch it. We reached out to the NBL. I think I originally came up with the thought, because it was like, at that point the NBL in Australia, it wasn't nowhere near where it is today. I'm not sure if it had much of an internal team dedicated to video content. So Darren and I was just like, well, we've got this whole backlog library of video edits, like hype videos. Let's just use it to sort of reach out to the NBL and show them our YouTube channel. And met your boss for 7 years, Guy Neville. Shout out to you. I'm sure you're in here with your probably a few questions to throw our way.
No, he says he scans through the episodes to see if anything, interesting.
Well, we'll tell you this time code when you come up. But 7 years later, you're still there, and we sort of use the YouTube channel as a portfolio of sorts.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, the best thing about this stuff, side projects, is just like, hey, this is evidence to what I can do.
Yeah.
So, like, without that, you're just like, I can do it. I promise you. Like, promise me. I mean, just trust me. I'm pretty good at video editing. But if you start a side brand, if you start all these Instagram accounts, websites, anything, it's really cool to be able to be like, hey, I would love a job to help you guys, but here's proof that I can help you guys. Yeah. You just point to them and you're like, well, go check it out. I don't have to sell myself too much.
It's a very good point, and one that I also think of. It's much better, even if we might think, looking at the numbers, we combine both of our channels with numbers in the names. It didn't sound very professional. DJ235, MMM Michael 33. How much better is pitching Brotherhood Studios with a bit of branding and dedication and time to it, rather than a random YouTube channel? So
exactly, branding, trust.
Yeah, it builds a bit more trust. And even though we probably look back at it now thinking it probably still looked a bit amateur, well, I can tell you MMM Michael 33 would not have probably impressed the NBL much.
But I will say those YouTube channels, like, I know how much time and stuff we both spent on like thumbnails and like finding a different look.
Yeah.
Even that, like, we were just like, this is great. Like,
it taught us a lot though. I reckon.
It just gets you in the weeds of it all, and it makes you actually better. But Project 3.
Yeah.
We're moving on from YouTube videos for a bit. Aquila Design. What do you remember of that?
I actually don't remember. Was it just a graphic design page?
Yeah, everyone's just a graphic design company. Yeah, I mean, I did it like an email.
Sport?
Stuff. I think originally I was like, I'm going to do sport, but then I think I just opened it up to be like a graphic design service.
So you wanted, in your young Darren's mind, you just wanted a few freelance jobs.
Yes, well, because
Aquila.
My background is studying graphic design at uni, so I was just like, I'm going to make the most of it. It's still like a passion. I kind of had like two arms, video and design, so I was just like, cool. Jumped. That's why my projects kind of jump all over the shop, because like I have different passions, and so same with you. But Aquila Design was basically just like a graphic design service. I remember the logo, nice green little bird because Aquila is like eagle or something. It has something to do with eagle.
It's also a shoe.
Yeah, then I was like, Aquila is a shoe. But mine was much better and arguably more successful.
I think I liked the branding from what I can remember of it. I think graphic design was your differentiator from me and you. That was how we sort of changed it up. Any clients from it, Darren?
Next one, no. It was, but that's the thing. You're young, like we're young, and I don't know what age I was through here, but you basically just do it to you challenge yourself, you test yourself, and you test the waters of some things, even if literally nothing comes from it. But you grow.
Well, you do it to do it. That sounds really stupid, but you do it because if you're not gonna do it, then if you don't do it, you're just gonna think about it nonstop.
I think that's my downfall with this stuff. I think about it, I'm like, well, it could be something.
I don't think it's a downfall. You don't know until you know, so just cross it off the list. Speaking of cross off the list, I like this one because Darren, you had a time where you're just like, I like writing, and I don't know where that came from, but again, content, media. Through our eyes was what it was called. The next one, Darren's, how do you want to call it? Well, written content about athlete stories. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I think I just woke up one morning and I'm like, writing something I have not done, even though I've studied in graphic design and spent a lot of work on video editing.
And we're not known for reading books either. So it's not like this side of thing is not us.
Well, I think my whole passion in all of this stuff is telling stories in sport, because that's what it all comes down to. So I was just like, hey, and I think I made like a Wix or a Weebly or whatever
one of the free writing
website builders. So I made a proper thing, and I just started writing articles like I tried to do it from a different perspective, because it wasn't like hey, this person scored stats like this points per game, whatever. It was more like, I'm going to dive into some athlete stories and just write it from my own perspective, make it shorter, kind of make it slick. It was like a yellow and black branding. I remember that. And then I even tried to get like other writers, more established writers, to kind of write for the website.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a time.
I seem to remember it was quite raw, and like the words you used purposely were the words you speak, sort of thing, like your vocabulary. I know you never tried to like write properly, but I think that's what you used to try to make it stand out.
Whoa, I did try.
Like, like with these side passions, sometimes you can see like a friend or a brother or a sibling do something, and you're like, that's not how you talk or type, but it's a compliment. You didn't do that.
Yes. No.
Through our eyes.
It is hard to it's called through our eyes, but then every time I try to
a bit of work.
Yeah, like I was like writing through our eyes, but then the abbreviation is obviously TOE, so toe, and I was like, every time I reference toe, I'm like, didn't think that one through.
Does that still exist?
The Wix or Weebly or whatever probably does.
Check it out.
Actually, sometimes it's quite fascinating. If you have side projects like this that you've done in the past, go back and look at it. It's fascinating. You're like, God damn, that's horrible. That was not bad.
I was doing that this morning for one of mine we're going to talk on, and I hated it and loved it.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Next one.
So this one, I think this probably lasted like a month, but do you remember my Too Much Sauce Instagram account for sport?
I do. I remember James Harden, that was his saying, too much. Or a commentator made that about James Harden, but to my knowledge, it was just basketball. It wasn't graphic design or content. Wasn't it more like newsy?
Well, this is
it was like gossipy newsy, wasn't it? Like,
but this is the funny part, because I literally don't know what that page was. Like, I was just like, Too Much Sauce. I remember the James Harden one where I literally just did like a graphic that said Too Much Sauce, and that was the logo. And then there was a few other posts that was just like, I actually don't know. It was in theme with what happened in the NBA that day or whatever, and then I just wrote like a few words on a graphic.
But I feel like it was trying to be like a gossipy media outlet of like the cool culture side of basketball almost.
I don't know, but
I seem to have more of an idea of what it was meant to be.
I reckon that Too Much Sauce lasted literally like a week.